Welcome to Stillwater Edge, the ultimate podcast for stillwater fly fishing enthusiasts. I'm your host, Greg Keenan, and in each short, action-packed episode, I'll share expert tips, essential techniques, and clever tricks to help you elevate your stillwater fly fishing game to the next level. Welcome to the Stillwater Edge Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Keenan, and today we're going to dive into a method that can turn a slow day on the water into one that you won't forget, and that's a technique called dead drifting in still waters. If you've ever struggled with lethargic fish or pressured water, then this episode's for you. We're talking about really slow days on the water, and dead drifting is one of the most underrated techniques in stillwater fishing. When nothing else is working, like stripping, twitching, or hanging flies, all that is leaving your line untouched, dead drifting can be the trigger that makes the trout commit. And the cool thing about dead drifting is it's kind of like a cross or a hybrid between river fishing and naked line fishing. And it's a real simple technique, but it's boring and it requires a lot of patience. So I'm going to tell you that right now up front, so you know what you're getting into on this episode, but it is a great effective technique. So let's do it. So what is dead drifting in still waters? Well, in its simplest form, dead drifting means presenting your flies without movement. You let the wind, the current, and your fly's line natural tension move the fly just enough to look alive, but not alarm the fish. It mimics natural food sources like midges, scuds, emerging insects that are drifting helplessly within the water column. All right, so that's kind of what it is. What it is, you cast out there, you let your fly sit there and do its thing, and it's just a patience, a game of patience. But why does it work so effectively? Now, it's the natural presentation. This is why it works so well. The natural presentation. Trout in still waters often feed on suspended or drifting insects. Like a motionless fly looks like an easy prey to fish in still waters, 100%. Lethargic fish in cold water, high pressure, cold water conditions, fish won't chase a fly. They're just not committed, right? Dead drifting keeps your fly in the zone long enough and right in front of their nose where they just don't have to do any work or expend any energy to snap up your fly. High pressure days, when everyone's casting and stripping, a dead drift fly stands out, but in the best way. And this is those times when you actually want to use it. When you look around the lake, no one's catching. It's a high pressure. There's 100 boats out there, or maybe not 100, but you get it, right? We've all been there. Try this dead drifting. I'm serious. It's gonna work. It's just not as fun of a technique as what everyone else might be doing. It's hard on your mind, but it ups you as an angler and ups those angler skills. So how to perform a dead drift? Let's jump to it, guys. So choosing the right rig and setup is key when you want to perform the dead drift. So using a floating line with a long leader, again, a floating line with a long leader is key. Now I'm going to break this rule because I'm going to tell you, last year I started experimenting with midge tips and long leaders, and I absolutely cleaned up. I killed it. Far outperformed the floating line and a long leader, which I've been doing for years prior. With that said, though, I only fished one season doing that method. Yes, it outperforms data-wise, but I don't have enough to talk about it too much yet. I'm going to do it again this season, and we'll get into it as we go. But if you are willing to experiment with a midge tip, I highly suggest you do the both between the floating line and the midge tip. So again, the long leaders are key. Flies, I want you to think of chronomids, micro leeches. This is where micro leeches actually shine. Just a micro leech cast out there, aimlessly drifting in the food source water column. Small nymphs, scuds. I love fishing scuds this way. Cast off, let that scud just do its thing. All these patterns that I'm talking about work best with natural colors as well. I've tried them before with the non-naturals and the hot spots and all that sort of stuff. It just didn't work for some reason. I guess the fish just didn't feel it was natural enough. It just didn't work. The naturals far outperform the synthetics or the popular colors or the attractor patterns. So that's where this method really works, right? When it's slow and that natural presentation needs to come in, like I mentioned earlier. How else to perform it? So that's your rig setups, right? So you want to cast across the wind, let the wind create a natural drift. You literally do not need to mend aggressively. Let that wind create a drift. You just need to mend enough to stay connected, okay? So you're going to mend it and just let it do its thing. It's boring, but let it do its thing, right? Number 3 is you need to watch your line, right? Without a doubt, you need to watch your line for key subtle takes, line twitches, line dips, or even when the slack tightens. This can be a signal that it's a fish. Those are ways to really detect that. That line's moving. If you see something move on that line, it's a fish. Guarantee it. Stay patient. This isn't a high action way of fishing. It's quite boring. Give it time. Let the fly drift naturally for long periods before recasting. The longer you keep that fly in that feeding zone where the fish are, they're going to pick it up. If you're constantly casting, you're not doing it properly. You're not fishing this dead drift properly. The dead drift is that natural presentation, that natural current with a tiny fly, just doing its thing, right? Some key points to master and kind of what I've learned from doing this is, like, the biggest thing is have confidence that your fly is going to work. Even though you're not moving that fly, I need you to have confidence. The wind and the natural movement of the lake are going to present that fly in a perfect way, right? And the fly needs to be a smaller pattern. It needs to be a naturally smaller pattern to do a nice, effective dead drift, right? Timing is another thing I've learned for sure. Timing, long pauses. Don't recast too soon. Give that fly time in the zone. Let it sit down there in that zone and just kind of move around, right? It's a tiny fly. The chances of it getting hooked up are so rare. If it goes and moves, it's because it's a fish, right? Contact. Always maintain slight tension to detect those takes. They're so subtle. There's no indicator to tell you what's going on. So that dead drifting, if you see a contact or you see that line move sharply, that's a fish. Guarantee it. Boom. Right? A wind advantage. Use the wind to your benefit. That's the whole purpose of the dead drift, right? Let it move for subtle movement. That wind will move that. It's killer. A pro game changing tip that I want to tell you, which kind of hinted before, is pair a dead drift with a slow sinking line. Again, that midge tip and the right fly. Let it hang just off the bottom and you're in the fish kill zone for sure for cruising trout. It's exactly one of the things I've learned. It's not a fun way to fish. It can be slow, but it can also be super productive when you do it, for sure. That's it for today's show, guys. Absolutely. This is an episode on dead drifting. It's a subtle, deadly technique that can salvage any slow day for sure. Thanks for tuning in to the Stillwater Edge Podcast. If this episode helped you, please share it with a fishing buddy. Leave a review. Tag us. As always, tight lines, and I'll see you guys on the water.